What up? What up? It's Garage Gym Homie, and today we are talking about step 4 out of the Alcoholics Anonymous Big Book. Is it worth it? Before we get into this here, please click the subscribe button because I got content coming out all the dang time for you, man. So click subscribe and let's get into this, man. I've been meaning to do this. God bless all of you. Hope you're feeling amazing. Living from the heart, staying out of your head. I told you I was going to do a series on all 12 steps. I've already done 1, 2, and 3. And so now I'm on 4. You can go back and check. And I hope this is helpful to people who are going through the steps, because I'm giving you information that I had never heard, and the information that I give comes out of the book, not out of my head. So anything that I say that doesn't line up with what's in this book, you can just disregard, man. Because as my sponsor said, one day I might wake up and think I wrote the book, man. Because I'm an alcoholic too. So this step is so crucial, just like all of them. But in order to get it, so first of all, step 4 is made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. So what does that mean? There's very specific instructions, and there's a lot of bad information that goes around at Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, and I hope to clear some of that up right now. So let's talk about it. So number 1, in order to get a very clear understanding of step 4, we need to go back to step 3. And I want to point something out. Step 3 was a prayer, just to refresh. And the prayer, it's called the 3rd step prayer. It's in the book. And we say it from the heart, not from the head. We say it from here, where we really feel the words we're saying. And we go to God. And what the 3rd step prayer is we are making a contract with God or higher power, whatever you want to call it, God, that we are going to follow through and go through the rest of the steps at once. So it's not just a contract that we're going to go follow through with the rest of the steps. It's a contract that we're going to follow through with them immediately. At once means right away. And that's so crucial, because what happens is, and I'm going to read you here, it says, though our decision, so the 3rd step was a decision, was a vital and crucial step, it could have little permanent effect. It didn't say no permanent effect. It could have little permanent effect unless at once followed by a strenuous effort to face and be rid of the things in ourselves which had been blocking us. Our liquor was but a symptom, so we had to get down to causes and conditions. Therefore, we started upon a personal inventory. So it's saying, I feel this power. When I went and said that 3rd step prayer, I feel this power. And I feel this power flow through me, and that's the power of God. And I actually recovered from alcoholism at that point, meaning God removed my obsession to drink or get high. 2 weeks after I got sober, that happened. Now, that might not happen for everybody at that time, but it will happen if you continue on. It's saying I can keep that power, though, if I move on at once, unless at once followed by a strenuous effort to face and be rid of the things in ourselves which have been blocking us. See, what happens is, every second we wait, that means immediately after I do the 3rd step prayer, I have to start doing the 4th step right away, because what happens is, this is so crucial, every second that I wait between saying that prayer and doing the 4th step, my disease, my illness creeps in my head, and it says, hey, Ari, you can take your time. Look, you're already at step 4. You could take your time with this. You don't need to, easy does it. You hear that at meetings. Easy does it. Easy, take your time. Meeting makers, all the sayings. My disease wants to tell me anything, so I don't move forward at once and do step 4. So every minute that I wait between step 3 and step 4, I'm giving my disease a chance to creep in and get in the middle of those steps and destroy me. And what I see, so listen to this. The 3rd step is a contract with God that I'm going to move forward at once with the rest of the steps. So every step after that I don't do, I'm really not doing the third step because I'm not fulfilling my contract. So I used to be one of those people that said, yeah, I did step 1, 2, and 3, but I never did 4 and 5. No. If I didn't do 4 and 5 and 6, I never did 3 because I'm not sticking to my contract. So only you're doing step 3 if you're sticking to your contract by doing the rest of it. And I got to just emphasize how crucial that is, not just that we do step 4, but when we do step 4, because I've sponsored hundreds of alcoholics and addicts, and every time we say the third step prayer and they don't move forward and do step 4, I end up seeing them just about every time. I end up seeing them relapse. I see them go back out because they never went through and fulfilled their contract. And they, maybe some of them are lucky enough they come back and I sponsor them. I said, well, what happened? And some of them say, I didn't finish my 4th. I never completed the 4th step. And some of them don't have a clue what happened, and that's honest too. They really don't. I see it clear as day. If you make this contract with God and don't move forward immediately, I've seen it time and time again what the result is. And man, so it's serious. So moving forward. So listen to this. Resentment is the number 1 offender. It destroys more alcoholics than anything else. It's telling me that resentment, anger, is the number 1 thing. I'm so fired up right now, man. When I'm talking about these steps, I feel what I'm talking about, man. If you're not feeling the words you're saying when you're talking about these steps, something's missing, man. Like, I feel the presence of God right now just talking to you about this. So resentment is the number 1 offender. I spoke at treatment centers for years, 6 years plus. I used to go on the first Saturday of every month to Maple Grove, speak to 60 plus inpatients and give an hour-and-a-half lecture. None of them knew this. They thought alcohol destroys more alcoholics than anything else. This book's telling me resentment destroys more alcoholics than anything, even more than alcohol. That's crazy. So this is all about my thinking, the resentment. From it stem all form of spiritual disease, for we have been not only mentally and physically ill, we have been spiritually sick. So we have to come up with this list, 3 columns. Just like there's an example right here. You could see 3 columns, okay? And they show an example. First column, I'm resentful at. Who am I resentful at? People, principles, and institutions. We know what people are. Principles are ideas or beliefs. And institutions, the police department, the school, the rehab I went to, AA is an institution, whatever. First column, I'm resentful at. So if resentment destroys alcoholics more than anything, I have to master these I have to get over these resentments. So how do I do that? So I have to take out a piece of paper, multiple pieces of paper, whatever it is, and I have to list down my resentments in front of me in black and white. That's the first step it's telling me. Who am I resentful at? The cause. Why am I resentful? My ex-girlfriend, she cheated on me. This guy, he stole from me, whatever it is. I have to list down the second column, what they did. Why am I resentful? How you wronged me. The third column, how it affects me. Sex relations, self-esteem, fear, personal relationships, pride. There's a whole bunch of keywords here. So it tells me, where else are they? Oh, self-esteem, our security, ambitions, personal or sex relations, pocketbooks, which means our money. Our ambitions, our personal, whatever it is, we have to list how it affects me. So that's 3 columns. So now I've got this list here. And it doesn't matter how long the list is. It does not matter. See, that's the other, people at meetings say also, this should take you at least a year to do your 4th. That's crazy, man. The people who wrote this book were running around town making amends to people on dude, like their 3rd day sober. The first 100 people who recovered from alcoholism, they moved through it like this. So, at once, we keep talking about immediately, You know in your heart if you're sticking to your contract with God and doing this list. So the length doesn't matter because it says right here, we're on page 65 and how it works in the AA Big Book. We went back through our lives. So I have to go through my whole life. Nothing counted but thoroughness and honesty. That's all that counts. It doesn't matter if you have 1 page listed of resentments or 100 pages. You might have 1 page and you've been as thorough and honest and you've gotten every resentment down on paper. Or you might have, this other person might have 100 pages, did all this freaking writing, took him months, 100 pages of resentment. But he left out the most important detail, and that ends up killing him later because he was too scared to write it down on paper. All that counts is thoroughness and honesty. And I've seen that. I've seen people do a heck of a 4th step, and they left out the most important thing. If I'm a doctor, which I'm not, trust me, far from it, and you have cancer, and I say to you, sir, I'm going to go in and I'm going to remove every cancer cell, but I'm going to leave this one right in here. That's going to be the one that kills you. So there is nothing in this book that says we do this list more than once. People at meeting, I go back and do a 4th step every year. It doesn't say that in the book. This is the one time we got to do the list, and it tells me that this list holds a key to the future. So listen to this. Nothing counted but when we were finished, we considered it carefully. The first thing apparent was that the world and its people often were quite wrong. So now I got this list. I've spent my whole life up till this point looking at how the whole world has done me wrong. I've written it all down on paper. You've screwed me over. You screwed me over. You screwed me over. You cheated on me. You stole from me. You did me wrong. You did me dirty. Everyone's to blame for everything. I've written it down on paper. Now what? Now it says, we turned back to the list, for it held the key to the future. That's pretty freaking deep right there, dude. That this list I just made, that I just put my heart into, held the key to my future. Now I want you to remember something. When I said the 3rd step prayer, and I made the contract with God, that I was going to go on and do the rest of the steps at once. There doesn't say amen at the end of the prayer. That means that prayer is open. That means I'm letting God guide me through the rest of this now. I'm letting God take me through this list. It's just flowing now. It's just flowing. Okay? So now it says, for it held the key to the future. That is deep. That means that as I keep going through this process, this list is going to come back up, and that's why it has to be thorough and honest. We were prepared to look at it from an entirely different angle. We began to see that the world and its people really dominated us. In that state, the wrongdoings of others, fancied or real, had the power to actually kill. Kill! Huh! Ain't no joke, man. How could we escape? We saw that these resentments must be mastered, like I told you before. But how? We could not wish them away any more than alcohol. This was the course. Listen to this. This is deep. We realized that the people who wronged us were perhaps spiritually sick. Though we did not like their symptoms and the way they disturbed us, like ourselves, were sick too. Here's a prayer they're giving us. They're giving us a resentment prayer now. This is the resentment prayer to say when we're angry. We ask God to help us show them the same tolerance, pity, and patience that we would cheerfully grant a sick friend. When a person offended, and I say this prayer to this day, when a person offended, let's say you pissed me off, you did something wrong, I say to myself, God, this is a sick man. How can I be helpful to him? God, save me from being angry. Thy will be done. So if I look at someone who offended me like a sick person, it's like impossible to be angry at them. If you're a sick person, you wouldn't have done me wrong if you were well. So I look at you. So if you offended me, God, this is a sick man or woman. How can I be helpful? Not only do I not want to be angry, I want to help you. How can I be helpful? God, save me from being angry. Thy will, God's will, not mine, be done. So listen to this. Now there's a magic fourth column. So this is how we master the resentments. It doesn't show it in the example because they want to explain it here. We got this whole list, 3 columns. Here's the magic fourth column. Listen to this. Referring to our list again, putting out of our minds the wrongs others had done, we resolutely looked for our own mistakes. Where had we been selfish, dishonest, self-seeking, and frightened? Though a situation had not been entirely our fault, we tried to disregard the other person involved entirely. Where were we to blame? The inventory was ours, not the other man's. When we saw our faults, we listed them, we placed them before us in black and white. We admitted our wrongs honestly, and we were willing to set these matters straight. That means, dude, this is so deep. That means that I've spent my whole life now looking at how you did me. For the first time in my life, I have to look within myself at where was I to blame. I had a part in every single one of these resentments, and I have to list that part on paper. You want this? You want deep spirituality right here? You want to get deep? This is it. I've spent the whole time looking out at you. It's time to look within myself. Only then can I get over these resentments when I see that I got the ball rolling for all the stuff that happened in my life. That was me, problems of my making. Yeah, it's not saying no one ever did you wrong. But if we want to master these resentments, we have to put that out of our minds and only look at ourselves. So I'm writing this list now, and I'm a few weeks in sobriety. I'm probably 4 weeks in sobriety now. I'm writing this list, and God's just guiding me through it. And I get to this part. I remember when my sponsor explained this part to me, we went through the book. I was sitting in his car, and I said to him, if I have any problem writing my part down in things, I'm going to give you a call. And my sponsor said, no, you're not. He said, if you have a problem finding your part, you're going to give God a call, and you're going to sit and listen. And if you can't find it that way, then you give me a call. So I'm like pages in, man. My fourth step was like 100 pages. I'm pages in. I'm cruising. I'm seeing my part. God's guiding me through. And I got to this part where my mom died of brain cancer when I was 21. And she was dating a guy for like years. Guy I loved from childhood. And as soon as she got brain cancer, he split on her. Okay, he split on her. And just as soon as she got diagnosed, he hung around for a couple weeks, took off, broke her heart, and I had a resentment. I wrote his name on paper. And I'm at the part now where I got to look at my part in that. And I'm thinking, man, I don't have a part in this. There's no way that I have a part. It has nothing to do with me. It has to do with him and my mom, and I'm angry at him because of what he did to my mom. And I'm thinking, man, I almost want to just write down something fake just to get through this. And I thought, Ari, man, you want to do this thorough and honest, like the book says, and you want this to be the one time you ever do this. I remember what my sponsor said. He said, if you have a problem, you call God and you sit and listen. I went to God from the deepest place in my heart. I felt the prayer, and I said, God, I want to do this right. I cannot see my part in this resentment. Please show me what my part is in this resentment. I sat there. I sat there, and I remember this like it was yesterday. This was 10 years ago. I sat there, and the answer came to me clear as day as soon as I sat back and listened. God, I have the answers deep within me. God said, you weren't there for your mom when she was sick. You're angry at this guy for doing exactly what you did. you were doing heroin and running wild. You were physically there once in a while, but you were stealing her hospice meds. You were doing this and that. You were acting like a clown. You're resentful at the guy for doing exactly what you did. You weren't there when she was sick. And it was clear as day, man. And I remember thinking, that's what anger does. It blocks me from seeing the most obvious things ever. It blocks me. Anger blocks us from God. And I knew at that moment, I knew in my heart that I'd have no problem finding my part in all of these resentments, and that God was guiding me through this. That was right when I really understood how it felt to be taken through the steps, that God was just guiding me right through it. And you might have heard that story. You might have knew that was coming. You might have known I wasn't there for it. You might have seen what I couldn't see. But God showed me clear as day what I was blocked from seeing. It was like an aha moment. This is crazy. It was a deep spiritual moment I'm sharing with you. So then I got all these, my part listed on paper, because it's all about what I did wrong, which was I had a part in everything. Then we move on, and the next part of the fourth step, I know this is a long video, but this is important. If this holds a key to my future, then this is freaking important, homie. Sit down, son. All right, man. I'm fired up again, man. We're talking God, homie. All right, man. I hope you're fired up. Let's grow. All right. So then fear. This short word somehow touches about every aspect of our lives. Fear. I was driven by fear. I didn't even know it at this point yet, though. It was an evil and corroding thread. The fabric of our existence was shot through with it. That's freaking crazy. An evil and corroding thread. Man, but did not we ourselves set the ball rolling? Yes, I sure did. We reviewed our fears thoroughly. We put them on paper, even though we had no resentment in connection with them. So I have to get out another piece of paper now. I got my first 4 columns done. Now I get out paper and I have to list my fear, even though it says there was no resentment in connection with them. This is a separate list of my fears. This was like a page. This did not take long for me. We asked ourselves why we had them. Wasn't it because self-reliance failed us? Man, self-reliance was good as far as it went, but it didn't go far enough. Some of us had great self-confidence, but it didn't fully solve the fear problem or any other. So now it's telling us, it says, we are now on a different basis, the basis of trusting and relying upon God. We trust infinite God rather than our finite selves. All right? We are in the world to play the role He assigns. Okay, we never apologize to anyone for depending upon our Creator. We can laugh at those who think spirituality the way of weakness. Paradoxically, it is the way of strength. Then they're giving us another prayer. This is the fear prayer. I say this constantly because even though I've done all this and I'm a treated alcoholic, I still have to deal with my head when it gets noisy. Okay, I still have fear in my life today. They're telling us, we asked Him to remove our fear and direct our attention to what He would have us be. At once we commence to outgrow fear. That's the fear prayer. God, please remove my fear and direct my attention to what you would have me be. I continue to say it to this day. If I call my sponsor and I say, I got to talk to you, I'm in fear, he's going to say, have you gone to God yet and said the fear prayer? That's always number one. So they're giving us the fear prayer. So that now we've talked about resentments and fear. Now the last part of the fourth step is the sex inventory. So it says here, another misconception in AA. It says that, you know, a lot of people at meetings say, don't get in a relationship for a year. Don't do any of this. It says right here in the book, we want to stay out of this controversy. We do not want to be the arbitrator of anyone's sex conduct. No one at an AA meeting can tell you not to be in a relationship for a year. Everything in AA comes down to God number one, our relationship with God. God first, sponsor second. I always go to God when I have relationship questions. That's number one. I check my motives. I look deep in my heart. I pray to God, to help me with live up to my ideals and what the right thing is. In so many words, I mean, it says it right there. It says, our sex powers were God-given and therefore good, neither to be used lightly or selfishly. So it's telling us here, we reviewed our own conduct over the past years. Where had we been selfish? So this is another piece of paper, last one. So resentments, fear, and sex inventory. That's the fourth step. All these people at meetings, oh, you also write the good things about yourself down. The book doesn't say that anywhere, okay? Settle down. It doesn't say write all the great things about yourself too. Resentments, 4 columns, fear, sex inventory. End of story. Where we reviewed our own conduct over the years past. Where had we been selfish? Whom did we hurt? Did we unjustifiably arouse jealousy, suspicion, or bitterness? Where were we at fault? What should we have done instead? We got this all down on paper and looked for it. That's the sex inventory. We list it down. Where have I mistreated people? Where was I selfish and dishonest? How did I treat people in a sexual way? In relationships. I get it down on paper before me in black and white. Whatever our ideal turns out to be, we must be willing to grow towards it. We must be willing to make amends where we have done harm, provided that we do not bring about still more harm in doing. In other words, we treat sex as we would any other problem. In meditation, we ask God what we should do about each specific matter. The book is always consistent on telling us God first. AA meetings, sponsors, it's all secondary nonsense. This is about relying on our relationship with God. Everything else is second to that. I just want you to know. And that's from the book, not from me. Always God first. That's who we answer to. It says what we should do. The right answer will come if we want it. God alone can judge our sex situation. Only God. Counsel with another person is often desirable, just like I said, sponsor second, but we let God be the final judge. Your sponsor might tell you this relationship's not right for you, Ari. You might sit there with God and hear something different. You have to follow your heart. Okay, that's what this is about. And if we fall short, we're only going to relapse, it's telling us, if we don't correct it. I've fallen short in sobriety. But if I continue to mistreat people and I don't address this, there's no telling I'm guaranteed to stay sober through that. So we need to continue. And it's also telling us, and I'll end this talk, it's telling us that if we have problems with sex and we have problems with our relationships, more reason that we need to throw ourselves into helping others. That's the answer. Throw ourselves in. That gets me away from self. Too much dang self is the core of my problems, and I have to move forward. So we've talked about when to do the fourth step, which is now, at once. There's no waiting or taking our time. This wants to destroy us. Number 2, the first 4 columns, the fear list, the sex inventory, and the prayers they give us. That's what I got, man. Garage Gym Homie's always going to give it to you straight till the end of days. If you liked the review, subscribe to the channel. If you didn't freaking like the review, also subscribe to the channel. God bless all of you, man. Together, let's get this dang muscle.